Good afternoon, Europe and Africa. Good evening, Asia, and everyone tuning in from around the world. My name is Franco Famularo, and I serve as president of UPF in Canada. I will be your moderator for this session. Welcome to our fourth session of the July International Leadership Conference 2021 here in North America. As you know, the overall theme of our series is Towards Peace on the Korean Peninsula. This session will focus on the arts and is entitled Building Bridges of Peace Through Culture and Art. One technical point to begin with, we hope to have time to answer some of your questions towards the end of the program. Please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions. In the form of a backgrounder, I'd like to share the words of UPF's co-founder, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon. She said, "People often think that politics moves the world, but that is not the case. It is culture and art that moves the world. It is affection, not reason, that touches people in their innermost being." Therefore, I'd like to add that it is not the common culture of the two Koreas that has kept them divided for 70 years. So today, we hope we can do more than just talk. We hope to give you a taste of just how it is that culture opens the way of peace. We have four very special panelists for you. Dr. David Eaton, an American composer and conductor who lives in Korea currently. Mrs. Maya Yamada, a deaf educator with the Eleanor Roosevelt High School. Dr. Nohi Park, Vice President of the Korean Cultural Foundation, and Reverend Gilbert Starr, President of Gilbert Starr Management. Finally, before we move to your questions, we will have a very special video for you, but more on that later. Our first speaker, Dr. David Eaton, has been the music director of the New York City Symphony since 1985. He has appeared as a guest conductor with orchestras all over the world and is also a prolific composer, arranger, and producer. He currently serves as the co-director of music at the Hyojeong Cultural Foundation. And I could go on for days introducing him because there are so many pieces in the media about his great musical abilities. Please join me from behind your screens in welcoming our first speaker, Dr. David Eaton.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you again. This is our second gathering under the auspices of the Universal Peace Federation and the newly formed International Artists Association for Culture and Peace. It's great to be with you again. I'm going to go into screen sharing mode here for the remainder of my time. I will have several photos and comments that I'd like to allude to. So if you don't mind, I will begin the screen share here. So we often talk about music for peace, and there are many musicians who I've met over the years who are very idealistic people and who want to use their creative abilities for a higher purpose. And our founders, Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, have always maintained that art and culture are very important in their ministry and in the pursuit of peace. And in her memoirs, Dr. Moon, Mother Moon, makes this comment: people often think that politics moves the world, but that is not the case. It is culture and art that move the world. It is emotion, not reason, which strikes people in the innermost part of their hearts. When hearts change and are able to receive new things, ideologies and social regimes change as a result. So this idea of music, or the power of music, or beauty, and more specifically, to transcend the barriers that might normally cause conflict and keep us apart, again, is a very important part of Dr. Moon's ministry, especially at this point. And we're talking about, in these discussions, the unity of North and South Korea. So the role that artists might play in this is very important. I've often made the point that as artists, we don't create in a vacuum. That which we create and put before the public has consequences. So as artists, we ought to ask ourselves, is the art that I'm creating having a beneficial effect on the society or the community in which I live and work? Again, the idea of music for peace has been around for thousands of years. The Platonic ideal of beauty, truth, and goodness is something that has inspired artists from the earliest times, not only in Greece, but also ancient Chinese culture. Confucius and Lu Bu, some of the early philosophers and politicians and theorists of the time, talked a great deal about the power of art and culture to affect change in society. And when we talk about art and culture, of course, there's the beauty aspect, which corresponds to aesthetics. There's the truth aspect, which corresponds to technique and craft and intellect. But then there's also this goodness aspect, which deals with values and morals, what we call in philosophical terms, axiology, the study of values. So the goodness aspect and the beauty aspect and the truth aspect should be harmonized in an integrated way rather than segregated, because they all play into the way through which art can really affect people in positive ways, and hopefully in ways that can change society for the better. I mentioned the ancient Chinese philosophers, and I came across this interesting observation by a Chinese politician, Lu Bu, who was roughly a contemporary of Confucius, and he said the following: the will of the people living in an area can be known by examining the customs prevailing there, and their virtues can be known by examining their will, whether a state will become prosperous or face its downfall, whether its leader is sensible or unworthy, and whether a person is honorable or corrupt, can all be known by the music they enjoy. That is a very telling comment. And it's a comment that corresponds to certain things that Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates wrote about, and also St. Augustine in early Christian culture. As mentioned, the idea of music for peace for our founders goes back to their early ministry together. In 1962, they founded the Little Angels, a folk music and dance group, with the hopes that these young girls could develop into a world-class ensemble and then travel the world and be ambassadors for peace, cultural ambassadors. And indeed, that vision has come to fruition. The Little Angels are now a world-class ensemble who have, in fact, traveled the world as ambassadors for peace. They've performed at the UN, and they've performed for heads of state, including Mikhail Gorbachev in Russia in the early 1990s. And in 1998, they traveled to North Korea as peace ambassadors to this was a cultural exchange that was set up between North and South Korea and the Korean Culture Foundation, which was formed by Dr. Bo-hee Pak. And again, the Little Angels have been very effective in promoting the ideals of peace and unity and harmony through their music. Back in 2003, I had the opportunity to travel to Israel as part of the Middle East Peace Initiative, MEPI. And this was my first trip to Israel to help produce this heart-to-heart rally, which took place in December of 2003. This was a very intense time. The second Intifada was going on. It was very dangerous, in a sense, to be in Israel at this time. Yet thousands of people came to the rally under the banner of interreligious harmony. And the motto of the heart-to-heart rally was peace, shalom, salam aleikum, with the idea of bringing together the three Abrahamic faiths of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And we had a great festival that day. It was a beautiful day, dead of winter, but beautiful day. This Israeli band, Gaia, performed. We also had a gospel choir there. And it was all, again, an attempt to bring the faith leaders of these different traditions together in the spirit of harmony, in the spirit of unity, in the attempt to, again, ameliorate the antagonisms that had really plagued the Holy Land for so long. We produced a CD of music. We solicited songs from artists, some of whom played at the rally, and others in the spirit of heart to heart, and to promote the ideals of peace based on, again, the theme, peace, shalom, salam aleikum. In 2004, we met David Dor, the famous Israeli singer, who's internationally recognized. He has sung for many heads of state, including President Obama, President Clinton, Pope John Paul II. And David performed at a number of our events in Israel. And we started to work on composing music together. We had this idea to create music in the spirit of peace, shalom, salam aleikum. We produced a CD of music that he and I co-composed the music. And after we recorded the CD, we started performing these pieces around the world. We did several concerts of the music in Europe, in Eastern Europe, also in Vienna. We performed this music. David came to the United Nations in 2011 to perform with us there at the New York City Symphony. In 2013, we were in Taiwan together to promote our music and this idea. This was the Evergreen Symphony Orchestra. So as artists, we took it very seriously to use our talent, use our ability to, again, promote the ideals of peace, mutual prosperity, interdependence, and universally shared values. In 2015, Seiko Lee and myself were at the United Nations with the New York City Symphony, and we did a concert there under the auspices of the UN. And the theme of the concert was the transformative power of music. So the UN wanted to have musicians from all over the world, representing all different cultures, come together to work together. And this concert was highly successful. And we were able to meet Ban Ki-moon, who at the time was the Secretary General of the UN, who was very appreciative of our efforts at that time. And I should mention also that Seiko Lee, who you see there, Seiko traveled to North Korea on 5 different occasions in the early 2000s, doing concerts, promoting peace, unity, and harmony through her music. As an ambassador for peace, she takes this very seriously. So we're always grateful for her efforts. In 2007, some friends of ours and myself, we developed the Peace Music Foundation. We had a songwriting contest where we got hundreds of songs from around the world. And we awarded 12 of the songs cash prizes and made a CD. So again, this is all part of the effort to use talent, to use our art, to use our culture, to foster the ideals of peace and unity through the arts. I'd like to point out also that next year, 2022 is the 60th anniversary of the establishment or founding of the Little Angels. And they will be doing some important concerts here in Korea under the banner of peace and North-South Korea unification. So this is this will be a very important observance of their 60 years as cultural ambassadors. So in closing, I'd like to, again, advocate for, again, the idea that we can, as artists, always be aware that we have a certain power in our art, through our art, and then we have to use that power with a certain sense of moral responsibility. And not just to talk about art, but actually to do art, to produce art, to create music or dance or poetry, or theater pieces, whatever we can do to use our creativity. Again, we don't want just to talk, but we really want to walk the walk. Or as a student of mine once said, it's not enough to sing peace songs, because we can sing the song, but we have to live the lyric. So through our music and through that which we create, we have this really important task to promote the ideals of UPF and hopefully IAACP as a way to begin to create social justice, to create healing, and to overcome the conflicts, whether they're religious conflicts, political conflicts, ideological conflicts, cultural conflicts, ethnic conflicts. Art and culture, beauty can be a very effective way for us to get beyond that and to start to relate more really as brothers and sisters of our heavenly parents. So with that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here once again, and look forward to the other presentations from my brothers and sisters here on this seminar. And God bless you, and hope to see you down the road. My motto is always more music, less talk. Okay, so we hope we'll be doing a lot more music in the future. God bless.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eaton. Very grateful for your intervention, and we're very glad to have heard from you this morning. Our next speaker comes to us from the USA, but she was born in Toronto, Canada. And I would like to invite Mrs. Kayleigh Moffett, the UPF USA Congressional Liaison, who is a colleague of Mrs. Maya Yamada, to introduce her. Mrs. Moffett, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Famularo. Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to briefly introduce our next speaker. Many years ago, 15 years ago, I was a part of her dance company, the Eleanor Roosevelt High School Dance Company. And Miss Yamada at that time, she's a deaf person. And what she did is she brought together hearing students and hearing impaired students and deaf students together in a dance team, which I had never experienced before. I was a trained ballerina up until high school, and this was my first experience in this realm. And we did a lot of work in our dances with lyrical dancing styles, incorporating sign language. But the deeper part of this was getting to know this whole other culture of deaf students and the deaf world, which I had never known before. And because of this experience, I formed such deep friendships with deaf students and other deaf members that we met through work with Gallaudet University and things like that. And I learned sign language very well. And so it really opened my eyes by dancing with these young people to a whole other world. And now wherever I go, I run into deaf people, and I feel so empowered to be able to communicate with them. And I have such a love for the deaf culture, which has such a pure quality about it. And so, I have personal testimony how transformative arts and culture can be in terms of bridging gaps between groups of people who would otherwise have nothing to do with each other, or misunderstand each other, or judge each other. So I wanted to offer that testimony as we go into Mrs. Maya Yamada's speech this morning. So thank you.
for everybody. Thank you for having me as one of your guests for your art and cultural workshop. And I am Maya Yamada. I am Kaylee's former dance instructor. And I'm here today to share my experience as a dance director and choreographer. And I will share how I have been able to unite people with disabilities and without disabilities together through dance expression. But a little bit about me and my background, so to help you to understand how it led me to establishing the Eleanor Roosevelt Dance Company. So I grew up in Toronto, Canada. At the age of 5, I found out I was deaf. It's possible I was deaf before that, but they didn't have hearing screening tests for babies back in the 1970s, so I could have been deaf at an earlier age. Anyway, so at the age of 5, I discovered I was deaf, and to make a long story short, I did not understand my disability or my deafness until I emigrated to the United States to attend Gallaudet University at the age of 18. And Gallaudet University is the only university in the world for deaf people. And it was there that I finally understood what it meant to be deaf. And I finally embraced it and learned to work through all the obstacles and the barriers. And it was a liberating feeling. And ever since then, I have been able to thrive and find myself and be able to reach out to others who are going through the same thing and the same experience as I. And during my college years, I was a member of the Gallaudet Dance Company. It is a company that consists only of deaf and hard of hearing dancers, and the assistant director is also deaf. That experience was such a rich and rewarding experience. We all came together for one common reason. It was for our love of dance and music. And at the same time, all of us were coming from different backgrounds and experiences with our hearing loss. And most of us have all been faced with discrimination and oppression. So coming together really helped us to bond and to form a family and to support one another. And so through our dancing, a lot of our pain and hurt just came pouring out through our movements, through our dance expression. We would also combine American Sign Language in many of our dances. And at the end of each dance, all of us would always feel free. We felt so free and liberated and healed. And often we would cry on stage after the show, and a lot of times the audience would cry with us. It was a beautiful experience. It was nothing to be sad about, but it was just happy, liberating tears. And so that experience made me realize I wanted to pay it forward to the younger deaf generation and hearing students. And that's what led me to establishing the Eleanor Roosevelt Dance Company in 1996. It is a company that consisted of deaf students, hard of hearing, and students with additional disabilities and hearing students. And the goal of the company was to unite all of those different groups and bring them together and have them learn how to work together regardless of their disability, regardless they were hearing or deaf or hard of hearing. The goal was for them to learn how to break down the barriers, especially the communication barriers. And I did this by giving hearing students an opportunity to learn sign language so that they could communicate with the deaf and hard of hearing students and myself. The company was very unique because I would incorporate American Sign Language, which is a language that has its own grammatical structure and rules. And one of the most striking features about ASL is the use of facial expressions. And I would incorporate dance movements, facial expressions, the emotions, and sign language in my inspirational lyrical dance pieces. And when I look back, some of the most beautiful moments were watching the hearing and deaf dancers coming together in harmony, watching the beautiful flowing moves and use of hands, no words, just hands and use of their body to communicate and tell a story. And you could just see that everybody was working as one, like one big family. All the egos, this flesh, the labels, the stereotypes, they would just melt away. And you could just feel the kindred souls coming together and learning how to work in synchrony. And that experience is a rich and rewarding one. And I think it's very important that we continue to expose our younger generation to the world of dance, because it's not just about dance, but it's about coming together as one and learning how to work together, and you overcoming all the challenges, and that it's a safe haven and a safe place for expressing yourself and not being judged for who you are, because everybody comes together and works like a family. Now, I have not taught dance for 13 years, but many of my former deaf and hard of hearing dancers and hearing dancers still have a strong bond today. And I do know that some of them are best friends, and I also know that some of the hearing dancers are now working in the field of deafness, providing access to communication as sign language interpreters. So it was a very rewarding and rich experience that I believe should be passed on to the next generation and the next generation. It is a wonderful place where the barriers can be broken down and everybody can celebrate who they are. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, your race, your disability. It is such a inspirational place to all learn about one another. And so all of these experiences led me to establishing the Roosevelt Dance Company. And I do miss it, but now I am passing this experience on to my daughter, who is also becoming deaf, and I'm preparing her for that same experience, and it's my hopes that she will pass that on to her children. Thank you very much for listening to my little mini presentation. I'm not one who likes to speak on camera, but if you have any questions or you need to contact me, please feel free to email me or contact Kaylee. And thank you again, and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Yamada. That was amazing. And as someone who understands a little bit about being hard of hearing, really touched my heart. And yes, we will be in touch. Our next speaker is Reverend Gilbert Starr, who is president of Gilbert Starr Management, a man on a mission. As a public accountant and artist manager, he says that his plan is to be the bridge connecting Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, the mother of peace, with people in the professional entertainment industry at the highest levels. Since the late 1980s, he has worked with some of the biggest stars in the music, film, and sports industries, such as with members of the Jackson family, including Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, and Jermaine Jackson. He has promoted and produced shows for some of the biggest artists in the professional entertainment field. And a partial list of these artists include Kool and the Gang, Toni Braxton, Mary Blige, Color Me Bad, Alicia Keys, Teddy Pendergrass, Mickey Howard, Spike Lee, Vincent Herbert, Lady Gaga, and the list goes on and on and on. I plan to bring many of these great artists together with Dr. Moon in order to support and promote her global efforts to create a world of true and lasting peace, says Reverend Gilbert Starr. Many of the artists mentioned above have a strong desire to work for and realize a world of peace. So he knows that they will be eager to lend their voices and support this true and noble cause. So without further ado, let us welcome Reverend Gilbert Starr.
Thank you very much, Dr. Franco. I would like to first of all thank Dr. Michael Jenkins as well as Dr. Thomas Walsh and all the UKF family. I'm very grateful to be able to share briefly, my experiences in the entertainment industry. But first of all, I'd like to start, my sharing. I was going to show a lot of pictures and things like that, but I decided that's not necessary. That'll all come forth in the future. I really wanted to start by thanking Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, as well as Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, who's been an example for my life. And also, I'd like to share like a little personal message to Mother Moon about her elder son, who is no longer with us, Hyojin Moon. He truly inspired me. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, I decided to pursue. I raised my family in Staten Island, New York. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I decided to really reach out to the who's who in the entertainment industry, because I felt that that world of entertainment really could be, because entertainers actually not only, their art that, as David Eden just shared earlier, their music and their gift or their craft that they received is not there just for the sake of themselves. But I feel God really raised up in this particular time of history many very talented people that actually could use their art, whether it be music, film, or in sports, to not only inspire, basically art can be used to inspire people to do good things, or it can inspire them to do bad things. And I've seen that in my management work in the entertainment industry. So I'm sharing that to share that I was inspired once I decided to pursue the field of entertainment. I was able to become very close with Dr. Moon's elder son, Hyojin Moon. And the reason why I'm sharing this is that I see that he was a man that truly had a vision, and he understood the importance of the industry of entertainment. So, he invested his own personal wealth into building a recording facility, both video recording as well as audio recording. Originally he began to share his or record his own music, but one day I really felt inspired to approach him because I had formed all these relationships in the entertainment industry, and I felt that he had created such a powerful platform for recording, music, both video as well as audio, that he and I began to talk and discuss things, and I became part of his team. And my promise to him and my pledge to him was that I would actually bring a lot of these people that I am working with to record their music and to really do things within that facility. And the rest became history. Within Manhattan Center, we were able to bring um, artists like Kool and the Gang to record their entire album, their Unite album there. Also, people like Spike Lee's Crooklyn was recorded there. Batman Forever soundtrack was recorded there. Many people may know the movie Romeo Must Die. That was recorded there. The artist Timberland, the producer, he was able to uh, practically live in our Studio 4 in Manhattan Center, and him and the artist Missy Elliott. Oprah Winfrey, she recorded her live in New York at Manhattan Center. So I'm sharing that to simply say that we have to understand the power, as Dr. Moon said in her memoir, of music and culture upon humanity. We have our political world where, whether it be a great president like President Reagan or Barack Obama, they're in office from 4 to 8 years and then they're gone. People may still remember them and love them, and they may have influence still in the world. But musical artists like a Michael Jackson, not only do they influence the society in their lifetime, but if they make great music and art, that art can last for forever, pretty much. So we have to realize the power that music, as Dr. Moon herself said in her memoir, the power that music has on people's hearts and minds. And again, if it's bad music, that music can influence our children, our youth, and even our seniors in a negative way. But if that music is, something that's beautiful and empowering and kind of life-giving, that music actually can really influence people in a very powerful way to inspire them to be the best that they can be. And that's why I was really inspired, I can say personally. I was personally inspired by Hyojin Moon because he was not only a great artist himself, he was a genius in many ways. He was, many people don't realize he was able to understand by ear many things. And I was able to watch him over the years and appreciate his talent. So I wanted to share that first of all before I shared anything else. I wanted to personally, through this platform, and I don't know if she'll be able to see or hear this, but I wanted our Mother of Peace, Dr. Moon, to know that that filial heart of her son, Hyojin Moon, has really inspired not just me, myself, but I'm sure David Eden, we worked together in Manhattan Center. Many of our people that work closely with him were genuinely inspired to really become the best we could be with the gifts that God gave each one of us. I also wanted to also share briefly that most of the world don't realize that even Michael Jackson's Heal the World, I was able to send Michael, certain information about the global work of peace that Reverend and Mrs. Moon were doing in the early and late 90s and into the 2000s. And actually, people don't realize that even the song "Heal the World" was inspired by that global work for peace. And Michael also was inspired to go on to support the unity of North and South Korea. If you can go on YouTube and you can find things like him speaking to the Korean people about if he had lived, he wanted to really see the reunification of North and South Korea. So Michael's heart was always, and not just Michael, but the entire Jackson family. They're a family that's always worked, through their music for peace. That's why you hear songs like "Man in the Mirror," "Heal the World," and USA for Africa did the "We Are the World," which the Little Angels have performed at some of the world summits. Jermaine, in fact, called me around 4 a.m. This morning because he sent 3 beautiful letters to Reverend Dr. Hachahan Moon, really expressing his heart to really work with her because I was able to speak with Jermaine many times privately, And right now, he and many other entertainers, they really want to stand with Mother Moon and support her work for peace. There are so many righteous artists right now in the world. Dr. Moon herself said she feels that many righteous people are inspired to really stand and work with her. And I can confirm absolutely the truth of that statement because I'm working with people that are longing to actually work with her and really use their influence. These are great influences. They influence many masses on the highest level as well as, you know, the grassroots. These people, I feel that their talents and their abilities were given at this particular time in history, because I really feel that God, our creator, our heavenly parent, is working to truly create a world of peace at this time through the efforts of Dr. Moon. So I really want to let our people, not just within our organization, but all the great leaders through think tank and the World Summit, as well as the rallies of hope, to know that many of our music, film, and sports people want to really utilize their talents, because most artists or entertainers also go to somebody's church. Okay, they have some rabbi imam that they're working with. So we have to realize that that world has been kind of forgotten about, but that world is the very world that the bad forces of our world use to like hurt our children and hurt you know the society, the nation, and the world. So we have to know that music can be used again for good, or it can be used to hurt or destroy, the character and hearts of our youth. So I'm sharing that point to make a very simple point that we have to, as moral leaders and leaders of UPF and whatever organization we may be associated with, we must realize, I feel, moving forward, the value of not just educating with the proper moral education our younger artists in the music and entertainment world. We have to utilize the knowledge that we have, that God has graced us and given us, to really help them utilize their art and their art forms to really do something great and positive for humanity. So one of the things that also I wanted to share, and again, I didn't want to share my screen or anything, waste the little time that I have showing pictures. But, I feel that it really is important right now at this particular time of human history for us to open the door. And Dr. Franco was sharing, this really is my heart. I really feel that God uh, raised me up and brought me close to Reverend and Mrs. Moon, to use my talents to really be a bridge between this entertainment world and the work that she's doing for peace at this particular time. And I feel that God has also raised up many people in this world, who are strong influencers, whether they be in art, whether they be in music, academia, whatever field they're in. It's like, I feel I got to express it in this way. At the time of Jesus, there was one John the Baptist figure that we know that should have stood with Jesus, not only to testify to him, but that figure should have been the first to follow Jesus, not Peter or any of the other disciples. John himself should have followed Jesus. I feel in a similar way today in the 21st century, God has raised up many powerful people in all fields that have gained influence through their art, through their films, or whatever medium that they've perfected. I feel that all of these things have been, in this particular time of history, been done by the creator behind the scenes. These people, how inspired would they be to know that their work can actually really contribute to building a world of true and lasting peace that Dr. Moon is emphasizing right now. So I really want to use this platform right now to really call out, cry out to the entertainers that I'm working with, as well as those who I may not have met and I have been able to work with, um, to really ask these artists to really stand with Mother Moon, Mother of Peace, to really build a world of true and lasting peace at this time. I wanted to kind of wind down my sharing by also thanking Mother Moon for allowing an artist that I managed for a while, Melba Moore, to go on the 12 city, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Jahan Moon, in the 2000s, they actually did a 50-state tour in the United States. And I was blessed and graced to be able to go with Melba to support Mother Moon, our True Mother's 12-city tour. And Melba was deeply inspired. She had just been invited by Oprah to her estate, and she gave her like a $250,000 necklace and earrings, and really treated all the legendary women like the Mariah Careys and Diana Ross and these ladies, you know, to her estate to really honor them as legends of music and film. And Melba, right after having received that honor, you know, we met with our beloved Dr. Chang Shik Yang, and Hyojin Moon actually inspired us to really support our true parents or true mothers 50 state speaking tours. So we're able to go on most of the 12 city tour, and Melba was able to perform to really inspire many of the ministers and clergy and other audience in those 12 cities. So I want to thank personally our Mother of Peace, our beloved True Mother, Dr. Hakchan Moon, for allowing us, you know, as artists, to be able to really support her work, her global work for peace. Also, Dr. Walsh also gave us an opportunity to perform at one of the, I think it was around the time of 21st anniversary of the Washington Times in DC. We're able to also perform in front of Dr. Moon, as well as they invited us to their home in East Garden, Irvington, New York, and Melba was able to perform for them there. All of these experiences were historical experiences, a very wonderful experience that we want to, again, personally express our gratitude to Mother Moon for allowing us to work with her so closely in that way. And I want to kind of conclude by sharing that we have to realize that the power of the arts, both, you know, music, film, and the sports industry up on our youth today. I would love to work with our leaders of YSP and the youth organizations to really tie their efforts into the arts, you know, to work with some of these great entertainers and really, you know, go around with them, you know, having press conferences and doing things to really let America really know that, you know, this great nation should be working to really promote, you know, unity and peace in the world. So my hope is that, you know, working together with my brother David Eaton and with Dr. Jenkins and the UPF family, that from now moving forward, we can truly take the opportunity with the relationships that I've been able to build over the decades to begin to bring these artists to support True Mother, Dr. Hakchan Moon's Rally of Hope, as well as her think tank, 2022 and beyond. So this is my determination and plan to be able to really work with her closely. And I wanted to let her know and let all of our leadership know that, again, Jermaine is ready and willing. Already we spoke this morning at 4 a.m. in the morning. We're compiling a list of really those entertainers that, you know, are moral and really have a moral message and really can stand with true our Mother of Peace, Dr. Hakchan Moon's message for peace. There are many prepared and ready. So let's go forward, you know, to really support and really inspire Dr. Hakchan Moon to keep going forward with her work for peace.
Thank you, Reverend Starr. Thank you, Reverend Starr. I know that you have even much more to share with us, and we'd like to set up another session where you can share even more about your good works. At this point, Dr. Reverend Starr, we will continue with the next speaker. Our next speaker.
God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker lives in Seoul, South Korea. Dr. No-hee Park is the senior advisor to UPF Korea. Dr. Park has devoted half of his life to promoting Korean cultural heritage and traditional arts with the Little Angels as managing director, guiding more than 50 country tours. He also established an arts education school from elementary school to high school for the Little Angels. Following Dr. Pak's speech, we will be showing some historic footage of the accomplishments of the Little Angels. Be sure not to miss that. It is our great pleasure to have him join us for today's webinar. Let us listen to Dr. Nohi Pak.
Excellencies, distinguished peace ambassadors, and the American leaders, I'm very pleased to meet you, even online, when people around the world are suffering very much from COVID-19 pandemic. Especially, I want to express my gratitude to Dr. Thomas Walsh, International Chairman, and Dr. Michael Jenkins, International President, for their hard work on this webinar. The topic of this session is about arts and culture initiative for peace. On behalf of my life, I was associated with the Korean children's folk dance troupe called the Little Angels, which was founded by Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jan Moon. The Little Angels was founded in 1962 with the founders' unique vision for the realization of a world peace through the arts and culture. They asked the Little Angels should serve as a private diplomatic mission through their performances, acting as ambassadors of peace and goodwill, and promoting the Korean people's spirit of peace to the world. In 1961, Dr. Po Hee-pak, serving as an aide to the military attaché at Korean Embassy in Washington, D.C., wrote a desperate letter to Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jan Moon, asking to organize a traditional folk dance company. In his letter, he said, "Today, people around the world only remember Korea as a country destroyed by war. As a diplomat representing Korea, I'm so sad about this situation. The Korean people have deep roots with 5,000 years history, steeped in beautiful arts and culture and tradition. If we can show our cultural heritage to the people of the world first, then they will respect Korea and the Korean people. Therefore, if possible, I hope true parents can create a folk dance company and let them perform around the world so they can raise Korea's status, show Korean culture and art to the people around the world." A few weeks later, Dr. Po Hee-pak received a letter from Reverend Moon. He approved his idea, creating a folk dance company under the condition that the company should be children folk dance group. Reverend Moon explained the reason is in his letter. The children are a symbol of peace. Everywhere in the world, even in the communist countries, everyone loves children. Children speak a language of peace that is understood all around the world. Only through the language of children we can make the world know the Korean people is a peace-loving people. So that's why I'm going to name the Children's Folk Dance Company as the Little Angels, the Children's Folk Ballet of Korea. After 3 years preparation from 1962, finally, the Little Angels started their world tour starting from USA from 1965. In 1965, Dr. Park arranged that the Little Angels' first historic American performance was a special performance for the former US President Eisenhower. On September 20, the Little Angels visited the residence of President Eisenhower in Gettysburg. Needless to say, the Little Angels from Korea captured President Eisenhower's whole heart. The president said, "Aha, now the angels in heaven must be in big trouble because these beautiful Korean little angels are dancing on the ground." At the special performance at the National Press Club in 1965, Mrs. David Reloy, the wife of the president of the National Press Club, visited Dr. Po Hee-pak to backstage and said, "I kept crying tears of joy while watching the Little Angels. If I had lots of money, I would use all that money to send the Little Angels around the world 7 times. What better way to achieve world peace? These children are apostles of peace and ambassadors of peace and goodwill. If they go around the world 7 times, war will disappear in our world. That was the moment when Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Chan Moon's vision for peace was achieved through the Little Angels. In 1970 and 1973, they were invited to give a Christmas performance in White House. In 1971, the Little Angels was invited for the Royal Command performance in attendance of Queen of England at the London Palladium, and they became Queen Elizabeth's special guest at the reception afterward. And in 1973, the UN General Assembly main conference hall was the site of the Little Angels special concert to raise funds for UNICEF. The Little Angels have been selected to represent the Korean government many times, serving as goodwill ambassadors, introducing Korean art and culture in 40 countries around the world. So far, the Little Angels have performed in more than 60 countries with more than 7,000 stage performances and more than 600 television appearances. I'm sure our co-founders' desire is that the Little Angels continue their tours more and more until the world of peace is realized. Next year, 2022, the Little Angels will celebrate the 60th anniversary of their founding. Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Chan Moon encouraged the Little Angels to organize a special tour in Pyongyang, the capital city of North Korea. In 1991, when Reverend Moon visited North Korea and had a special meeting with the President Kim Il-sung, they had already agreed to have arts and cultural exchange program. They hoped that a non-political arts performance by the children, the Little Angels, with a tranquil and clean minds, would lay a cornerstone to open a door for the reconciliation and cooperation between North and South Korea, the dearest wishes of the Korean people. Finally, on May 3rd, 1998, the Little Angels visited Pyongyang and performed twice. At the Pyongyang Bonghwa Theater, it was very historical that the Little Angels, at the first performing art company from South Korea, performed in Pyongyang. The theater is full of enthusiastic audiences. The North Korean audiences who saw the South Korean performing arts program first time were fascinated with the tears and united with the common sentiments of same cultural heritages of 5,000 years history. In return for the Pyongyang performances, the Little Angels invited the Pyongyang school children's art troupe to Seoul in May the year 2000. Their 2 performances in Seoul were also fantastic and made great success. At the joint performance of North and South Korean children at the Little Angels Performing Arts Center, one member of the Little Angels said to the audiences, "Tonight, we children from North and South made a complete unity with the love without any hatred. Please, all fathers and mothers here, took care of the rest of the procedures to make Korea afterward, to make one Korea afterward." Through this exchange program, the historical first ever North and South Summit talks was reinforced a few weeks later. The teachers who educate and train in the Little Angels and direct their tours have a motto, originally taught by Dr. Po Hee-bak, following the spirit of co-founders. If you have a beautiful heart, your dancing will be beautiful. If you have a beautiful heart, your singing will be beautiful. If you have a beautiful heart, your face will also be beautiful. The deep philosophical meaning of this teaching is that all arts are an expression of inner character. Their performance on stage is an expression of the children's inner beauty. So Dr. Po Hee-bak emphasized that they have to be beautiful human beings first. On June 25, 1950, North Korean forces invaded South Korea and started the Korean War. Thousands of people were sacrificed, and both South and North Korea were devastated. However, in this difficult time, God worked to protect our country by sending troops from 16 countries around the world under the name of UN forces. To secure the freedom of South Korea, These troops made great sacrifice and suffered many losses. Perhaps if it wasn't for them, the Republic of Korea today would not be on world map. In addition, 5 other countries supported the war effort with medical supplies and other aid, contributing to the recovery of Korean country after the war. The Korean people have unlimited gratitude for this country's help. In particular, Reverend Moon had been imprisoned in Hungnam labor camp by the communist regime in North Korea when war broke out in 1950. In October 1950, the prisoner was liberated by UN forces, saving his life and securing his freedom. On the 60th anniversary of the Korean War in 2010, Reverend Moon asked the Little Angels to organize special performance tours to the 21 countries that sent troops and aid to Korea during the war, to express our gratitude to the people of those countries. So the Little Angels went on 3 world tours to 21 countries in 3 years from 2010, giving performances and holding memorial events for sacrificing war victims and the surviving war veterans on behalf of the Korean people. For this project, a lot of money was needed, but Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon provided great support for this work, which neither the government nor any businessman could do. Such initiatives demonstrate the practice of their philosophy of living for the sake of others. Many veterans expressed their appreciation to Reverend Moon for acknowledging their sacrifice in Korean War after 60 years. They also praised the Little Angels, who expressed their nation's gratitude through their beautiful dancing and singing. In conclusion, true parents founded the Little Angels in order to promote national prestige through Korean traditional culture and arts at the time when Korea was suffering due to the damage of the Korean War. Now, they have become ambassador of peace for the world. These days, in Korean people praise the Little Angels as the origin of the Korean wave that has now made many K-pop groups and other performers popular around the world. I am proud that Reverend Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon will be remembered for their contribution to promote the prestige of Korea and the pride of Korean people, with a unique vision for the realization of world peace through arts and cultural initiatives. Thank you very much for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Park, for this inspiring presentation and for this great work. Without taking a breath, let us now watch the video we have prepared. Please understand that much of this is old footage from the Little Angels' May 1998 visit to North Korea. Actually, we have a lot of newer film, but we wanted you to see this because more than anything else, it captures the role of culture as a peacemaker and speaks to the heart. I hope you enjoy it.
EJ, could you make Dr. Jenkins a co-host or allow him to share?
This is the trip of the Little Angels to North Korea in 1998. Those were North Korean performers and Little Angels, North Koreans with the red bandanas. It's the first trip of a South Korean performing arts group ever since the Korean War. They embraced, they wept together, and they also shared the hope that one day their country would come back together. This is the point where, after the performances, the North Koreans with the red bandana, and the Little Angels with the blue and white outfits. The children want peace. The children can't understand why their nation of one people is divided. So the arts and cultural exchange can completely change the hearts of the young people and eventually the hearts of the nation. Then the North Korean performing troops from Pyongyang came to the Little Angels School and did that exchange, and there's been communication ever since. That's why the chairman of the DPRK has always been respectful of Father and Mother Moon and has always embraced their work for peace. Even now, there's discussions about further exchange because it moves the people's hearts.
하루 동안 정들어 그리운 얼굴들과 마음을 안고 재회를 간절히 기다리며 서울로 향했다.
They're leaving North Korea because they are one family. Let us work together to end the divisions in this world. Thank you.
Wow. That give you hope? Please join me from your homes in applauding all of our speakers and their great work for peace. Dr. David Eaton, Reverend Gilbert Starr, Mrs. Maya Yamada, and Dr. Nohi Pak. We have unfortunately run out of time, and I would like to thank you all for joining us from your homes and from wherever you are in the world. And once again, thank you to our wonderful panelists. Our next session will begin at 11:30 today, and we'll focus on the, let me get it right here. We'll focus on the YSP, 1 p.m. on the ILC and the Peace Road. So thank you very much, everyone. I wish you a great day and God's blessing, and may peace reign with us all.